Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow!
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here today. We're live from Half Coast Studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you to Half Coast for this amazing setup and for sponsoring the show. If you are looking to start your podcast or take your current one to the next level, then you need to come check out what they have going on. Contact them today for a free consultation. If you're listening, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this content by tagging me and our guest on social media. That way we can get this content out to more people. Today we have another great episode lined up for you. This guest and I have been connected virtually as we are both clients of WinRate Consulting. Over the last year, I have been enjoying watching him succeed from afar this year, and the accomplishments are absolutely incredible, and we're going to get into some of those things today. He and I have a lot in common when it comes to values, personal development, and just winning in life. I'm grateful to have people like him in my circle, and I can't wait for him to share his story today. My guest today is Parker Ward. He is a realtor at Ward Properties in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and resides there with his family. Recently, he also announced a new venture he's involved with called Elihar Properties. Parker, welcome to the show.
Man, what an introduction. Thank you so much for that. And I'm honored to be here, and I appreciate the invite, and super stoked to get into this with you.
Dude, of course, man. It's been awesome getting connected with you. You know, you, as I mentioned in the intro, like you and I resonate on a lot. We're always going back and forth on social media, supporting one another. And man, it's just grateful to have you here. I'm super stoked. So for our guests, whether it's the first episode you're listening to or you've listened to it from the beginning, we like to compare our guests and their entrepreneurial journeys to that of the beer brewing process. Thus, we came up with the name Entrebrewers. So, Parker, we're going to start out with the history. Obviously, every beer has a reason behind why it's getting brewed. Talk to us about what you're working on kind of right now with the realty business and then also the new venture, and then work backwards and how you got here. I know you're a young gun at 26. I wish I was doing the stuff that you were at 26, but let's dive in, man.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the compliment, too, at the end. So, as far as like what's next and where I'm headed right now, I'll give you a little background. I was born and raised in real estate. A lot of people, when their parents picked them up from school, they got taken to the park. I got taken to a house to rip out carpet and to do work and stuff like that. So that's from the very beginning. So what that looks like is I was born and raised in real estate. I work for a family-owned business with about 30 agents. And in the next probably 2 to 3 years, I'll be taking over that company. Work along with my mom, my dad, my brother, and sister. So we'll be taking that over together. And then I'm focusing on the growth of that once we go. And then just launched another company, Nate Griffin. We'll get into that with Elihar Properties. So the things I'm focusing on right now is the growth of that company, taking it to where it needs to go in the next steps. Finding out my true purpose in life and what I'm after. You know, you mentioned I'm 26, so I'm just trying to figure out all this. I'm just starting and really just learning to enjoy the process and learning to enjoy the fruits of my labor and where I'm headed. Because right now it's just, 16, 17-hour days, nonstop working. I have a 1-year-old son and trying to find out the harmony with all of it and learning to enjoy the process.
Love it, man. And I like how you talk about that process and enjoying the process. I think so many entrepreneurs are like, this process is a grind, and I just want to get to the end. The true story is that there is no end. You get to the end of that process, and then there's another process. And, I'm going through a process right now and transitioning and becoming the CEO in the company. It's like, that's a whole nother process. And once I get there, there's going to be another process as well. I'm interested because we haven't had a ton of people come on the podcast that have worked in a family business and are taking that over. I'm always interested to know kind of like what that's like working with family and things like that. So obviously you grew up in the business, you've been around it your whole life, but doing this full time now and looking at the future, how has that process been? And give us some insights on that.
I mean, I think it's different from everybody. But from my perspective, I mean, man, it's good and bad. Like, I'm so blessed to be able to spend the time I have with my family. You know, a lot of people move away from their family, do their own thing. And so don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly thankful to have that and to be able to spend the time I do with them. But also at the same time, sometimes it's a nightmare. And that's the truth. But, you know, if you have healthy boundaries and things set up and stuff with that too, you learn to work through the kinks of everything. But, it's been very interesting because I'm very blessed because at the age of 26, the knowledge that I have within real estate and sales and everything and being raised in that environment, I mean, as humble as I can say, it's put me way ahead of most people that I'm surrounding myself with when I come into this industry. And so that, I mean, there's no price that could be put on that. And I'm incredibly thankful for the mentorship and the people that have been along with me through the journey. But it's kind of interesting, man, because like if me and you were to go into business, you know, there's conversations that we can have, but when you're there with your mom or dad, it's kind of weird to be telling people how things need to be ran. And especially if they're old school versus the new school. I know you're into marketing and all this stuff too. So trying to even explain half the stuff that you do to them is kind of, you know, it goes past their head. So there's a lot of hurdles that you have to work through, but it's a blessing to be able to work with them.
Man, I love to hear that. And I think you said a couple things there, just those healthy boundaries, you know, that translates to any partnership you have or just any business that you have and the relationships that you have with your team, making sure, you know, everybody is in their lane and that there's a cohesive, open, communicative environment for everybody to succeed in. So I really, really like what you said there. And now shifting into kind of your story and what has made you successful. I know you touched on obviously being in real estate, having that mentorship from your family, getting some sales experience, things like that. Within the beer brewing process, obviously beer is going to have some great ingredients that make it what it is. What are 3 things that have made you successful thus far in your journey?
I love this question. This one actually took me a while to think on because there's so many things that could be mentioned. But when I really got to dig down into it, the number one thing I'm going to bring up for me is just having a never give up mentality, kind of like a do or die and adaptability to that. And what I mean by that, and if I'm being honest, I've never been the smartest person like in the room. Like, for instance, we mentioned my partner, Nate, in this business. He can read something and go with it. It's amazing. I have to read that same thing 5 times. Now, once I got it, I never forget it. But just being able to be adaptable, like, you know, if we're going into entrepreneurship and everything, like when I first got into this journey, I thought it was gonna be so fun, you know, just everything was great, super easy. But man, when you get into here, it's a lion's den. Like, it's ruthless. It's a beautiful journey, but dude, it will knock you on your feet if you're not ready for it. So just being adaptable and being able to take things and learn from it instead of allowing them to defeat you, and just always working toward getting better. You know, I don't really believe in perfection, but I'm more so about progress, like not comparing myself and just going for it and learning as I make mistakes and continuing to go from there. So the number one thing I would say that's helped me to be successful is just never giving up and continuing to come back at it again and again. Like, if you knock me down 1,000 times, I'm going to be back at the 1,001st, like right back out there. The second thing, I'm really big on the law of attraction. Like, you can't just believe into things. Like, I can't just believe I'm going to be a multimillionaire and it's going to happen. Like, you got to do the work too. But like, you truly have to believe in what you're doing. And I'm a firm believer in that. Because I think that in order for you to have the vision and stuff, like, you have to know where you're going. If you were traveling down a road and had no destination in mind, you're never going to get there, right? And so you have to have a good idea where you're going, and you really have to believe in yourself and not let that hold you back, if that makes sense. And then the third thing is, and this one's huge, is investing in yourself. You know, we're all about getting the new car. We're all about buying these tangible things in life. But when is the last time you've actually invested into yourself? And I made a post the other day, like, you know, whether you hire a coach, self-education, a huge one is who you surround yourself with. Like, that's been the most incredible thing. Like, I'm new into this journey, about 3 years into it. And I've completely changed my friends who I surround myself with. I literally have a mentor for every pillar in life. Like whether it's my spiritual journey, I have a coach on that who happens to be my pastor. Josh with WinRate, he's my coach for business and stuff. I have a life coach, like all these different things. And I reached out and got help. And admittedly, I didn't know a lot, but I reached out to people who did, and I was vulnerable about that. And from switching who I surround myself with, it's made a night and day difference within my life.
Man, that's amazing. I'm literally getting chills hearing you talk about those key factors to your success. One, because they're all true and I resonate with a lot of them, but man, you're 26 years old. So to those listening, there are people that don't find out what he just told you until they're 45 or 50, and they don't take the time to invest in coaching or mentorship or people. And they surround themselves for their entire life with people that, albeit might have been friends or acquaintances or had close ties to earlier in life, but they're not pushing you forward. And sometimes you just have to kind of cut those ties and move on. No harm, no foul, but that's just the progression of life. I think that's amazing, man. And I'm super excited to just see you take off, because again, you're only 26, man. So appreciate you highlighting some of those things. What was there a specific trigger though? Because I'm so interested, because at 26, I wasn't doing this stuff, but what did you kind of get ingrained to just be like, hey, I need to go start doing it? Was a particular thing you listened to, or like what? Because obviously there was a switch. You're doing
Right.
all of these things. Like, what was that switch to be like, hey, I need to double down on myself?
All right, I'm going to get very vulnerable here with you. So you're talking about like what made me go, what made me hit the gas.
Yep.
Okay, there's a couple things I'm going to tie into this. I'm going to take you back a little bit within my life. Okay. Let's start with school and stuff. Adam, I've always been naturally smart and stuff, but I never really applied myself. And what I mean by that is, like in high school, I was an amazing athlete, like athlete, triathlete, won state championships in wrestling, finished second in my school in high school. I had college scholarships and stuff, but I never really applied myself academically, right? Went to college, dropped out. And if we're being completely vulnerable, like, I've had drug problems in my past. I had problems with alcohol and stuff. And I used to be embarrassed about this. Like I would I'd never admit this on a podcast. But the truth is this, I think God allowed me to go through those things to be able to help people that are in my shoes that actually need help. So instead of being embarrassed about it or holding back, no, man, I'm going to lay it out all on the line. And I don't care. My goal is I hope one person that listens to this podcast gets what I needed years ago. And if I only help one person do, then I did my job. Right. So I just do a lot, to be honest with you. I screwed up so much, man, back to back to back. And I always knew, like, this is what's crazy is in the midst of all that, I've always had this belief about myself that I'm supposed to do something great. Like I'm supposed to be destined to do something great. I didn't think it, I knew it, but I didn't know how to make sense of everything. So left high school, went to college, literally for a semester, dropped out, and had a lot of problems that arise. And man, what really changed, and I'll be honest with you, it kind of ties into who you surround yourself with. But my fiance, she really changed my life. Like we got together and she changed everything for me, and really opened up my perspective. I changed my friends and everything, changed everything around. And dude, I'll just be honest with you. She had all her stuff together. I had nothing together. But she believed in me, and like, we had some talks and stuff, and she really just opened my mind of like, I told her like all these beliefs and stuff and what I wanted. And she's like, well, I believe in you, but you got to do it. And so what changed it for me, I want to put it this way. When my son came was like, and that was a year ago, that's when shit like really started clicking. I was like, wow, it's not just me anymore. Like this little dude depends on me. I've got to do it now. And it was kind of up until that point of like, that's when things changed immediately. Like there was no more joking around, but I'm trying to tie it into explain things. Sorry, man, this gets a little bit emotional for me and stuff. I'm trying to.
You're good. I appreciate you sharing this, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, because like, again, I didn't plan to mention this, dude, but here's the truth, man. Like, it's okay to mess up and it's okay to screw up. But what really put me on, man, is just I changed everything about my life. I stopped with the alcohol, stopped with the drugs, I stopped hanging out with people that didn't apply themselves and everything. But what it made me quick is like having a purpose, like finding someone I truly love that made me want to give what they gave to me, having a son and realizing like it's not just me anymore and that everything matters. That's what really took it off into the next level, man. Because like once he came along, dude, everything changed in my life. Does that make sense?
Oh, dude, you're resonating with much of this audience and myself too. So yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, it's big. I mean, I was just, we had an episode we were recording before this, and as of this recording, I'm about 50 days sober. So it's been a massive, yeah, man, I'm pumped. It's, I got a new excitement about life, but you just realize that there's things that you do that whether you are doing them or you're surrounding yourself with people, vices, whatever you want to call it, it has an effect. And it affects the way you show up, whether you know it or not. It affects your relationships. It affects literally everything, man. So I appreciate you sharing that. And man, you're definitely going to make a massive impact in people's lives. So I'm pumped for you, man. The next thing that we'd like to get into is the brewing process just in general. So obviously great beer doesn't happen overnight. Entrepreneurial journeys, great success doesn't happen overnight either. So talk to us about some of the ups and downs of being in business, kind of some things that you've learned along the way and how you've been able to come out on top.
Make it short and we're going to go into it, man. The way you got to get on top is you just never like those listening out there, like there's so many talented and smart people in the world. And one of the biggest things I would say is like not comparing yourself and focusing on you and just continuing to show up. Like, for instance, man, when I started the real estate journey, I'll shoot you some truth. I was born and raised in real estate, right, Adam? So, dude, when I went to take my test, I failed this exam 7 times, like back to back to back. Like, and I don't know if you know much about the real estate, but it's a 5.5 week course, right? And I took that test 7 times, man. And this is how embarrassing it got. After I would fail, people at the office, my parents' office would ask, like, hey, did you pass? No, I didn't do it this time. And so they're like, well, man, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you should go something else. Nah, man, fuck that. Like, I signed back up that day. And I kept going and going. And I went from not being able to pass this test to, dude, I'm like number 2 top producing agent. I'm 26 years old. I'm in there with people that's been there 10, 20 years. Like, and as humble as I can say it, man, I'm tearing it up. And like, so the biggest thing I would say is like, just don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Like, keep showing up. Your day might not be today. It might not be tomorrow, but I promise you your time will come if you just keep showing up. And that's the big thing, man, is just applying myself. So it's just a matter of fact of just continuing to show up and believe in yourself. Yeah, like I've went through so many downs. I talked about the dropping out, the abuse, whether it would be drugs and alcohol, and just I kept showing up, man. And there was like nobody that like I had so many people that told me like, man, you're never going to amount to anything, whether it was teachers and all these things. And like now they're looking at me like, how do you do this and stuff? And I'm like, dude, like I'm nobody special. There's nothing like super unique about me. Like if anything, I told you I have to try extremely hard. It's just about continuing to show up and never giving up. That's the number one thing I would tell anybody.
Love it, man. Yeah, so many people think that you have to be an expert or you have to have years of experience or you literally have to have a special formula in order to be successful. But what they don't realize is that the most successful people are the ones that never give up and that show up day in and day out, even when crap isn't easy, man. So I really resonate with that, as I'm sure most of our audience will, which kind of translates us into our next topic of fermentation and conditioning. So within the beer brewing process, we've got a beer that we've tested out. We're tasting it, figuring out what it looks like and tastes like and all that good stuff, but we know it needs to get a little bit better. So on the entrepreneurial side of things, if you had to pinpoint one lesson that you've learned that you would share with someone looking to save years worth of mistakes in their journey, what would that lesson be?
To me, this is the biggest thing that I would tell anybody, and I touched on it just a minute ago, but the number one lesson, like if I could go back and tell myself this or anyone that's starting this journey, is like stop comparing yourself. Focus on you. Focus on like you really need to find out what you want to be. You need to find out why you're here and go after that. Because looking back on it, man, like when you focus on, I think it's great to have mentors and people that can help and coach you. But man, if you're so focused on what other people are doing, like you're missing so many marks on yourself. You're going to miss in so many doors that are so ready to be open for you, but you're so focused and you're not locked in on yourself, man, that you're missing out. And like looking back on it, there's so many times in my life, like I was like, damn, if I just gave that a little bit more attention or spent a little bit more time on that, I would have killed it. But I was focused on the wrong thing. So like, I would like bang that into anybody's head, like believe in yourself and focus on yourself. And like I said, it's great to have people you look up to. Like, man, you're killing it right now, Adam. I'm super proud of you, man. Like I'm cheering for you, like every corner. Like I'm just stoked for you, man. Like I cheer for you. I want you to win, right? But I'm not comparing my journey to yours because we're two different people and going two different destinations. And so you can't do that. And I say that, man, because personally, I've had a lot of problems with it. Like you say I'm 26. I expect to be where people are in their like 40s and 50s at 26. It's like this disease that entrepreneurs have. Yeah, dude, and that I'll never get. I don't have any advice for that. We're still working on that one. But like I'm serious, man. Just like have this belief in yourself and know that you're going to get there. But here's the kicker: you're never going to get there until you start paying attention to what you need personally. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think it's so easy because of social media and the environment that we all live in, the access of seeing literally all of this stuff. And one of the kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but one of the funniest things that I find out is that I've obviously gotten connected with a lot of people who I used to compare myself to, not necessarily that I compare myself to now, but I realized that so much of what they put out on social media is just a bunch of BS, and that they might be posting these cars, but they really rented the cars, or it's their buddy's friend's car. They say that they're doing all this revenue and they're actually losing money out the back door. They're not even a profitable company. And so, you know, as I've transitioned, as I'm sure you've seen it as well as most entrepreneurs do, we are ingrained in our minds because of what we see on social media that we have to have this persona of what success looks like. And you hit the head on the nail, is that success cannot be compared to someone else's success. My story and your story, although we align on a lot and we're going in similar directions, but much different, you have to understand what success means to you and backtrack it from that. And that's literally the biggest learning lesson, one of the biggest learning lessons that I've learned over my journey as well.
Dude, that's beautifully said. And I'm going to make a note on that, man. I'm so glad you said that, but that's so true. Like, and dude, social media, like it can be a tool, but it can also be super toxic too, especially in our field, man. Cause you'll go on here and be like, oh my gosh, they did this and this and this. And dude, that's one point that I want to make is, I'll be honest with you. One thing that I'm trying to get better at is being more vulnerable. And what I mean by that, man, instead of all of us like posting everything we did great and accomplishments, which is wonderful, man, definitely do that. But dude, show people the bad and hard side of it too. Like show them your mistakes, show them things that you could learn on, because I'm telling you, man, if I was 18, like if I could go back, I would get so much more help from people showing me where they screwed up and the hardships of this, rather than, hey man, make $1 million. And you know what I mean? Like it's so much more than that. And I think us as entrepreneurs, we can do a better job of being more vulnerable and showing them that. Cause I think so many more people resonate with that, man. Cause the ultimate goal, like for me, dude, I want to help people get better. I want to be the best version of myself, but I know one of my points of purpose on this planet is to help people. And the way I'm going to do that is being real about it. Like I gave you some background information on me of like dude, I don't care, like judge me, but I know I went through it to help people. And there's people that's going to listen to this today and be like, man, if that dude do it, I could do it. Well, great. Go get it. Yeah. Like go get some.
No, it's that's perfectly said. And I definitely agree with you there. On pretty much every aspect for sure. I think one of the funniest things is as well is like so many, you know, I'm in a franchise, so I'm a franchisee of a franchisor, and we have 25 other agencies. You know, our agency, we're super blessed. We're very successful at what we do. We're about 2.5 sizes, or the size of any other franchise that's out there in our spectrum. So we're kind of like in our own little world, but it's all been done in 18 months. So wow. I've literally done all of the stuff that they're going through right now, and people are looking at all of the success and they're like, Adam, how did you do this? Adam, how did you do that? I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. You need to be asking what lessons I learned and what mistakes I did, so that way you can do it faster. That's the whole point of mentorship and entrepreneurship and doing all these things. But that's what I learned from other people. There was, yes, I learned what they did to be successful and all that stuff, but I'm so in the details on like, where did you screw up? I know you didn't do that. Like, I know you didn't do that without the pitfalls. Let's figure out how we can condense time. And that's the biggest key to success.
Dude, that's so I couldn't have said any better myself. That's so spot on, man. And I love this too, because I'm resonating with so many things on you, and I can't wait to meet up with you one day and connect even more. But that's beautifully said, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So the last thing that we'll get into here in the entrepreneur process is the distribution. So obviously within that is taking the beer when it's ready to go market and sell it. So obviously we talked about your new venture with Nate. You obviously are going to be taking on a bigger role within the real estate business as well. So what is next for Parker? What do you got on the pipeline? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm going to touch a little bit on Elihar and stuff too, like keep it pretty basic on the real estate. I'm taking over a company, have a lot of big dreams as far as a real estate company that my parents own. I have a lot of big stuff that I'm going to implement within it, and it's going to open so many doors. So that's pretty simple. Oh man, Elihar, dude, I'm so stoked about it. Like there's so many things I want to put on here, but I know Nate would kill me if I spilled too many beans. So
yeah,
we're going to go big with this company. Like just to keep it simple right now, we're buying, flipping homes, investing in them, holding them long-term, passive income, like every avenue that you can think of real estate, we're basically going to take over with that. But there's some very, very exciting things coming up with Elihar within time that I can't say right now, but you'll definitely know when the time comes. So I'm going to keep that in tuck. But some big things that's going to happen with that I'm super excited about. But for me and what's next right now, man, I'm 26 years old. I'm very young into this. And I feel like, honestly, I've been like trying to rush this process, like expecting to get places so fast. Honestly, man, and not taking away from my work ethic or consistency, I'm trying to learn to enjoy the journey. Like that's next for me because I love working, man. I love grinding it out. Like it's not a chore for me. It doesn't feel like I love it. Like I was built for this.
Oh yeah.
But I struggle. Like, dude, I could go out here and break a record and like for 15 seconds, I'll be like, wow, that's great. Okay, what's next? Like that's how I operate. So what's next for me is continuing doing what I'm doing, crushing it, but really learning, man, to enjoy it while I do it. And I think that's underrated. Like it's a lot easier said than done, but I personally really struggle with that. So that's a milestone that I'm aiming to get to. And while I'm doing that, I want to find my true purpose and why I was put on this planet. And I have a feeling like in my gut, I truly believe that I was brought here to help people. I don't know in what capacity. But that's one thing that I'm going to be finding out. And I'm not in any rush. I'm going to trust the signs, surround myself with the right people, do the right thing and do what I'm supposed to do. But I'm just, praying about it and putting myself in the right positions to finally find out why I'm here. And man, once I do, it's game time. So that, and, honestly, man, like my life is going to drastically change in the upcoming years, especially within my 5-10-year goals. And one thing I would really want to do, I mentioned I have a 1-year-old son. I'm going to be expanding my family here soon too. Probably just pop some news that I wasn't supposed to. But learning to enjoy the fruits of my labor, man, and like learning to have that harmony in life. I don't really believe in balance, but I believe in like harmony within it all. And learning to truly enjoy this, if that makes sense. And so it's not like a destination in mind. It's about my personal journey and what I'm trying to accomplish. Because I don't want to rush this. I feel like I've been trying to rush everything, and I want to enjoy it while I do it.
Love it, man. That's a perfect ending to an incredible episode, man. Tell the audience where they can find you and follow you on social media. We'll put all the links in there, but I know people are going to be excited about connecting with you and following your journey.
So you can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. It's pretty simple, just Parker Ward, and you'll find me. My Instagram will have 3 R's and 3 D's. You'll be able to find me there, and you can. My company pages are all tagged within my bio and stuff too, so you can follow me on there. Connect, and I'm always happy to help anyone that I can. So don't hesitate to reach out if you want to.
Love it, man. I will put that in the show notes for the audience. Parker, man, thanks for coming on today. It was a great episode.
Thank you, man. I really enjoyed being here, and I thank you for your time, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it as well. And I want to thank you again to our audience for tuning in to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. And thank you again to Half Coast Studios. If you're here in St. Louis and looking to start or grow your podcast, seriously come check out what they have going on. We'll see you all next week. And remember, entrepreneurs aren't born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs on born to prove. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney.